Hi everyone, it's Heidi from Flutter by Heidi, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United Kingdom. And today I want to talk to you about the lovely Snowflake Splendour suite. So this is Snowflake Wishes, which is the stamp set, which as you can see has beautiful snowflakes, and they are much bigger than they look on the front. Lovely sentiments as well some background little snowflakes images, and these coordinate with our fabulous dies. And again, the dies both cut out the shapes in the stamps, but also can make these fabulous statement snowflakes as well. And there's also an aperture one, so this creates a stitched stitched nested shape with snowflake images that come both inside and on the outside of that shape as well. And that's what we're going to be using today. The lovely snowflake embossing folder, absolutely beautiful, and it is so detailed, and you'll see in a minute how effective that is. And then a little bit of the balmy blue glimmer paper, perfect for wintry scenes. So the card I'm making today is this one here. This one I just used one of our standard stitched shapes on, but I'm going to use the one that comes in the snowflake set. And you can see here it's just creating an aperture. It's not a spinner. You could perhaps create it as a spinner if you wanted to, but I just wanted to use some of our lovely ribbon that we've got, which is this Snowflake Splendour ribbon here. Beautiful iridescent shimmer to it that I felt was absolutely gorgeous. And I've just layered some snowflakes up on that and then stamped on the inside. And you can see here I've just added an extra snowflake to the reverse to give a little bit of sparkle as well. Let's get started with the project. And as I say, the absolutely gorgeous snowflake images these. So you're going to start off with a card blank, and this is 29 by 10.5 scored at 14.5 to create our card blank. And you can do one of two things. You can either gut the front of that, and by that I mean decide which is going to be your front or your back, and then cut at 2 centimetres all the way around. So from 2 centimetres at the top down to 12.5, and then line that score line up at 2 centimetres or at 12.5 on this side, again from 2 down to 8.5. Line it up at 2 centimetres, and you're cutting down at the bottom here. So this time you're cutting from about 16.5 down to about 27 centimetres. You probably couldn't see because I was off shot. And then back again at 2 centimetres. And that just cuts you an aperture. Now it all depends on your preference, but that's gutting, as I say, or you can use our stitched rectangles to create the same effect as well. So having done that, we then need to create our layers, and obviously you want to get those centralised. So what I would recommend you do here is you take your balmy blue layer, so you want 2 layers. So this one is 14 by 10 and this is 13.5 by 9.5. And you want to grab your die, and I just use a little bit of washi tape to help with this, and you want to centre your die on your front layer and just glue that in place. Then pop it on top of the this is Misty Moonlight that I've got, and pop that through your die cutting machine. Now you might want to just make sure that those layers don't shift, and I'll show you how that comes out. So that's not going to necessarily cut all the way through. But what you do is you take off your die off the front, and you'll see that generally leaves the bottom one embedded. So you can then come back in with the die, and you can just feel it lock into place, and then run that through again. Pop your plate on the top and just run that through for a second time. And that will then cut through to the back layer. If you found it hasn't, then all you do is take off your top layer and then run it through again until it cuts through. So again, yeah, a few passes through, but it will create a lovely effect when you've done it. So again, you just lock that in and pop it through. And when you come back, you will find that you've got two pieces, and you want to emboss your top layer. So with so here you go, here's our second layer. So you can see, and those will layer up perfectly. Now you want to pop it into your embossing folder, and all you do is just decide whether you want it embossed or debossed on the front. I'm going to emboss on the front of mine, and I'm going to pop that through my embossing folder. So you end up with a layer that looks like this. So you can see here, hopefully, the detail of that embossing. It's really fine embossing on there. It looks really, really pretty. So now all you need to do is layer that up. Now I'm just going to use, because it's embossed, it means there's a bit of texture. So I find that I use my wet glue for this, because you don't want to add too much pressure, and just add it around the outside edge of those. I don't worry about trying to glue any of the little bits. When you run it through again, you might find little bits of your snowflakes pop off because they're quite fine. Don't worry about that, because all it means is that your next layer will show through slightly more. Okay, so there we have our layer, and we can add that to the front of our card. Not before we've added some ribbon. Almost. So just cut yourself a length of ribbon to go down the centre there. And this is one of those occasions where I'm going to use some red tape. You could use your Stampin' Seal Plus as well, if you've got that to hand, and that's the dark blue one. Okay, so I'm just going to, because I happen to have mine to hand actually, easier than my red tape. So pop that down the centre, and it's, again, you can see that that is easy to do because you've got the points of that shape. And then I'm just going to add, and these are all going sort of flat on there as well. Okay, and then we can pop that, take my sample out of the way, just onto the front there, and pop that to one side. And then all you need to do now is come in and choose which of the snowflakes you want to cut. And I've used the larger one, and I've cut one out of Whisper White, sorry, two out of Whisper White and one out of the Balmy Blue. And this is one where I am going to pop my glue on the back of my Balmy Blue, but just around the centre here, so just right in the centre, and hopefully that was where mine will line up. So I'm just going to then offset that, and you'll see that when you offset it, hopefully you can see, it actually lines up with the apertures on the one behind. So by adding the glue to the back of that kind of flower shape in the middle, you're creating a lovely aperture as well. This is probably the trickiest bit of all, which is adding our snowflake to our ribbon. So what I did here was I did use some glue on down this centre line of the snowflake. So on the two flower heads, top and bottom, two flower heads like sort of top and bottom, those ones, and just pop that like so. Flip that over, and then you're going to do exactly the same, but you're going to add the glue to each of these heads, because that's where you're going to attach your ribbon. Attach our second snowflake, because obviously it looks a little bit on the messy side if you're not careful. So all you do is just then line up that snowflake on the reverse. Now, you could use some sort of glimmer cardstock if you wanted, or you can use the Snowflake image if you wanted. I'm going to use my... Okay, this is where it's all going to go. Okay, right, let's get that lined up again. There we go. What I actually used on my front one was I used some glue dots. But all you need to do, if you're struggling, as I am there, just take that apart. And you can grab, or you could grab, glue dots if you happen to have them to hand, which of course I haven't. There we go, right. Start again. Pop our snowflake on the front there. Flip over. There we go. And if you just leave that glue to set very slightly, we will now have, there we go. There. Just line those up. Use your pokey tool to get those aligned. There we go. And all that's left to do is, while that's now drying, I haven't got it to stick, so you could use glue dots, which I think actually might have been what I did on my sample when I originally made it. And we're just going to use the balmy blue and our snowflakes to stamp in the centre of the card here. And if you wanted to, you could then add your sentiment over the top so that that's visible from the front. But after a bit of palaver, making it look far more difficult than it actually is, you have got a pretty Snowflake Splendour aperture card ready for those special people at Christmas time. So, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that. Warts and all, you know me. You get everything in my videos, even if it doesn't go right. If you want to purchase any of the products you've seen today, any of the Snowflake Splendour suite, pop along to my blog, flutterbyheidi.co.uk, or along to my Stampin' Up shop, heidismith.stampinup.net, and you can purchase them there. And I'd really appreciate it if you chose me as your demonstrator. Thank you for watching. Bye now.